Well, I would say that it's a small percentage, but the reason it's a small percentage is not because um, we don't want those types of cases. The, the issue with employment discrimination is this. Employment cases largely depend on economics. And for many people who are in lower paying jobs that can change positions or change jobs quickly and go out and make the same or more money, and they've only been out of work for a short period of time, while they may have been discriminated against, the economics don't justify bringing the case. And so I talk to people every single day that have been discriminated against, really. And because they're able to quickly find another job or quickly replace that income, it's hard for us to justify spending time, resources, and energy on those cases. So it turns out to be a smaller percentage of the types of cases we handle. Now, there are times when there's unique circumstances or someone has a substantial wage paying job where we will get involved and we'll handle that case. Someone who has been discriminated at their job and has a lower paying wage rate, okay, or they're making, say, the minimum wage, and they know that they are the subject of wrongful discrimination in the workplace, and they can't find a lawyer to take their case because their wage rate is too low, they should absolutely file a formal complaint with the Department of Civil Rights. And the Department of Civil Rights can investigate that complaint. They can bring the employer and the employee to a mediation process where the case can get resolved for a monetary figure and perhaps equitable relief. And that person the employee doesn't have to hire a lawyer, doesn't have to pay any expenses, doesn't have to pay any costs, and they get the benefit of a government agency helping them to resolve that issue. Normally, what we do is we refer the case to the Department of Civil Rights or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. And the reason we do that is because anytime someone is discriminated against here in the state of Michigan, that discrimination gives rise to two cases, a state law claim and a federal claim. However, you cannot bring the federal claim unless you get a right to sue letter from the EEOC, which means that you have to file the formal complaint, allow an investigation to take place, and then have the EEOC give you the right to bring that case. And so we refer those cases to the Department of Civil Rights, which is the state branch, or the EEOC, so that the investigation can be completed, we get the letter, and now we can bring all of the claims that a person may have into court. I would say the most common are race discrimination, sexual discrimination, cases under the Americans with Disabilities Act, in other words, people who have a disability or a handicap who are being discriminated against, and sexual harassment. Gender discrimination is essentially it's sex discrimination. You're being discriminated against based on the fact that you are a female, right? Or reverse discrimination for a male, which is very unusual. But yes, the sexual discrimination, gender discrimination, and sexual harassment all are within the same genre of discrimination cases. To successfully litigate an employment discrimination case of any kind, of any variety, first you have to be able to match dollar for dollar the defense. Now, when you're suing a company or a city or a county for discrimination, you have to imagine that they could spend as much money on the case. They can hire the best experts. They can have the investigators and all, record keepers that can, synthesize materials very quickly. All of these things that they can do, you have to be able to match those resources. So the first thing you need is the financial resources to compete with the defendant. The second thing you also need is talented lawyers to be able to argue and litigate these cases. Because normally we are going up against some of the biggest firms in the state, and they have the top pick of any lawyer they choose to defend that case. We are a boutique firm, so we have to make sure that we have very talented lawyers on board that can fight these armies of lawyers that we come to engage with. I think the most important thing that I can do for a client that reaches out to our office is give them an honest assessment of their case, right? To let them know that what they are pursuing is either worthwhile or perhaps it's something that they should either report to an agency or perhaps do nothing. And so I think an honest assessment is the very key to, or the most important thing I can do for a client when they initially call.